Today we're going to be talking about cryptocurrency's impact on the global informal economy and why we should care. I, I'm your presenter, Vincent Tran, and let's begin. So, basically going to cover the starter guide to cryptocurrency. Monero and Bitcoin we will be focusing on in order to estimate the criminal transactions of cryptocurrency, talk about some of the environmental problems with Bitcoin and Monero, and then conclude with how this relates to us as college students. Now, cryptocurrency is a digital currency that uses a digitized ledger to track transfers of its own currency. To clarify, a digitized ledger is a list of everything everyone has traded with each other for that specific currency's lifespan. So all the wallet addresses or how much everyone has in terms of cryptocurrency is listed on this document, as well as the timestamped transactions of everyone who's ever traded on Ledger. Now, how does cryptocurrency work? Cryptocurrency is peer-to-peer, so or Monero or whatever cryptocurrency between people is the main facilitator of transaction. So oftentimes this means that a bunch of transactions are happening at the same time. So how do you verify it? Well, there's two different ways that cryptocurrencies verify what the order of all the transactions are, since different people on the network get all the transactions at different times. Now, one of these methods is proof of work. This, this basically chunks all of transaction data and has millions of computers fighting for the chance to verify which chunk goes where in terms of timeline of the ledger. The act of doing all these calculations to verify that specific these chunks is called mining. This is different from proof of stake because this means that proof of stake is a little bit more, even more gambly than proof of work, but uses less computational resources, as all possible uh, miners that can do the computation put up some of their cryptocurrency in order to have the chance to be the one to verify that specific block of the ledger. And as I stated before, since you mine cryptocurrency, you're going to need resources to the materials to mine cryptocurrency. That often requires computer hardware. Computer hardware like ASICs. ASICs are a specialized computer hardware device that runs the computations. It's very power hungry. It's very and oftentimes requires unique cooling solutions using water. Now, because water is a scarce resource, this is not necessarily a good thing for the environment and is a major problem. Because larger cryptocurrency miners have uh, more resources at their disposal, some develop specific software algorithms in order to maximize usage out of all of their computer hardware. Soft and all all miners, of course, need an internet connection due to the fact that this is a digital currency as well as a crypto wallet, because the whole reason why they pursue these gains in cryptocurrency by is through this verification process and getting rewarded for it. Now, the verification process is complicated. It uses 64-digit hexadecimal numbers and lots of guessing and trial and error, which is how for every transaction there's millions of computers wasting copious amounts of energy in order to generate this sort of value. Now, comparing the two major players for legal transaction cryptocurrency space, we have Bitcoin and Monero. Both of them use this proof of work model that I've and thoroughly discussing. However, Bitcoin is the majority player in terms of cryptocurrency. It's most brand recognizable. Plenty of you already have heard of Bitcoin before, and and according to estimates by Truby et al., it's it most likely has the highest footprint out of all the cryptocurrencies, being attributed to around 19,000 future deaths. Monero is the lesser known of the two. It's marketed as being heavily privacy and focused and is favored by newer cybercriminal enterprises that are up to date in security and cybersecurity tech news, so to speak. Now, the problem with both Bitcoin and Monero is that they use tons of resources for this verification method. I mean, Bitcoin's electric footprint has to be larger than 645.62 gigawatt hours of electricity, and context that's larger than smaller island nations in terms of energy use, and in a lot easier to understand terms. A specific study by Krauss and Tollimot found that Bitcoin spends 17 megajoules of energy to generate $1, while Monero uses 14 megajoules of energy to generate $1 worth of value. And that's well, and although uh, cryptocurrency is seen as a sort of hyper secure uh, criminal network financial network, it's actually surprisingly easy to track these transactions down because, again, as cryptocurrencies use public ledgers for the most part, and that means it's easy to track down wallets depending on their trading activity, for what time they trade, as if they are still being in use. If they're not in use, it's a little bit harder because that means they're not connected to the internet, and investigators have little to work on. Monero specifically found to account for 25% of or 25% of Monero transactions are illicit or legal in nature. So there is prob so we're going to be using the 25% mark as a form of bet of standard between Bitcoin and Monero in order to estimate the amount of environmental impact the informal economy has when it comes to cryptocurrency and the massive energy and resource waste done by cryptocurrencies. I I mentioned on the slide mixing in coins and how cybercriminals attempt to evade authorities. But what's more important is cryptocurrency's effect on us, on especially us as college students. And the effects on us are seen in in pollution, resources, and energy. So in terms of pollution, Krauss and Tolliamont again estimate that 3 to 15 million tons of CO2 emissions are involved when it comes to cryptocurrency and cryptocurrency mining. So this carbon footprint obviously comes disproportionately from the global south, and it just perpetuates the instability in the region because of all this excess energy, and the mining that happens in the global south just continues to fuel its own demise, so to speak. And again, the high energy costs pollute the atmosphere through uh, electricity generation, most mostly being run by fossil fuels such as coal or oil, power plants that often are the sources of electricity used by major cryptocurrency mining operations. Now, what does this mean for me for us specifically? Well, we're talking higher costs of living, harsher heat waves, a steady crime rate, droughts, resource scarcity, poor air quality, weakened power grid, clear prospects, higher seafood costs, and financial instability. These are all possibilities of climate change and are perpetuated by cryptocurrency's proof of work model, which uses large amounts of resources, large amounts of energy, large amounts of water in order to generate value from thin air. So even though cryptocurrencies are used for private long distance transactions, they have a global, have greater environmental impact than cryptocurrency does currently. Environmentally speaking, the multi-step process of a single transaction requires too many materials, and the acceptance of cryptocurrency into the informal economy has detrimentally impacted the environment, escalates the climate crisis. I'd like to thank you for your time, and here are all of my references.